What's up guys, it's Ivan, and today we are going to review a successful statement of purpose for the PhD in psychology at UC Riverside. This statement of purpose has a maximum word count of 500 words, and here is the prompt. The statement of purpose is your opportunity to state your specific interests with respect to the program to which you are applying, your intended area of specialization, career objectives, and research interests and experience are of interest. So as you can tell, this prompt is really broad, and I'm guessing that this is not specifically from the School of Psychology or the Department of Psychology. So it's more of a broader statement of purpose prompt for all applicants of any PhD program at UC Riverside. For the last year and a half, I have worked as a clinical research assistant for Dr. Michael Benatar in the ALS research collaboration at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, studying ALS and related diseases, example ALSRD. While working in the lab, I have focused on advanced MRI and biological fluid-based biomarker development using neurocognitive and clinical measures of disease progression. One biomarker that is being validated by my research is a protein in the urine of individuals diagnosed with ALS, but it is mostly absent in healthy controls. I earned the role of lead coordinator on 2 international multi-site trials investigating neuroimaging, genetics, neurocognitive and clinical measures of disease, including respiratory and speech testing. I have learned how to look at data critically and standardize study procedures. This research has affirmed my interest in cognitive aging in neurological diseases using neuroimaging and neurocognitive testing. For the introductory paragraph, as you can tell, the applicant got straight to the point. Because the word count is 500 words, it is imperative that you as a writer, as an applicant, get right to the point in terms of what you want to research as a graduate student. So a couple of key things that this applicant did successfully in the introduction are a couple things. So the first thing obviously is that they went straight to the point. They started talking about their research experience, which led into their career goal. So the last sentence in this paragraph states their career and research interest. And so this applicant said that their initial research experience really helped develop their interest in cognitive aging and neurological diseases, and they wanted to explore using neuroimaging and neurocognitive testing in their research to find answers to aging problems. And that is their career goal and their research interest. On the onset, you see that the applicant mentioned that they were a clinical research assistant, and they mentioned under whose mentorship. So it's important that you as an applicant name drop who you're working under. So this person is working under Dr. Michael Benatar, and the group is called ALS Research Collaboration, and they named the location University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. And the reason why it's important for you to be this specific and name dropping, the location, the mentor, the lab, is because these institutions already have credibility. And so as an applicant, you're gaining credibility because you are being trained by these successful faculty and researchers, right? So this is one way to gain credibility in your training to be a successful PhD student. So make sure you are name dropping and you're being specific when you're explaining what type of research or experiences you are doing, either as an undergrad, as a professional, whatever it is. Make sure you are detailed and you state where you are doing this work. And as you can tell, the writer also is specific in terms of what research they conducted in that lab. So we learned a little bit about their experience, and we learned that they were a coordinator, that they led 2 multi-site international trials in something that's related to what they want to do in the PhD program. So I want you as an applicant to really make those connections between your experiences, but also the program you are applying to, the research you want to conduct, and the career you want to potentially attain once you are done with the PhD program. Prior to working with Dr. Benatar, I was an undergraduate research assistant for Dr. Michael Voss in the Health, Brain, and Cognition Lab at the University of Iowa, studying healthy cognitive aging, neuroimaging, and aerobic exercise. I primarily investigated the effects of an interventional brain training program on cognitive normal older adults, where we hypothesized that the program would have a positive effect of cognition. I have continued to work with Dr. Voss, writing a literary review examining moderators of cognitive functioning in randomized controlled aerobic exercise trials, which was to be presented at the Conference of Cognitive Aging in Atlanta in 2020. From this experience, I learned about moderators of randomized controlled exercise trials, their impact on results, and how gold standard testing measures aid in scientific development. In this paragraph, the applicant continues to speak about their research experiences. So they talk about their undergraduate experience, right? So again, they mention their mentor, Dr. Michelle Voss. They talk about the lab name. So the lab is called the Health, Brain and Cognition Lab. And they talk about the location, University of Iowa. So again, I want you to name drop all these different elements in your statement of purpose to provide some context and credibility for the reader. Then they mentioned exactly what they did with their research. So this applicant investigated the effect of an interventional brain training program on cognitive normal older adults, where they hypothesized that the program would have a positive effect of cognition. And so that is the purpose of their research. So when you're talking about your research, make sure you write what the purpose is and how you contributed to that purpose. So this applicant goes further and talks about what they did as a researcher, and that led to a conference presentation. So when you're talking about your research, I want you to mention a couple things. I want you to mention the name of the lab, the mentor. I want you to mention the purpose of the study, your role in the study, and what were the findings and implications, and then take it a step further and talk about what your experience led to. Was it a publication? Was it more experience with randomized control trials? Was it experience designing experiments? Was it experience with presenting at conferences? So what was the result of your research experiences? And if you have enough room in your statement of purpose, I also want you to make the connection to how that experience is leading you to your research interest at the PhD level. As a graduate student, I am interested in the cognition and cognitive neuroscience specialization, working with Dr. Ileana Bennett, who studies cognitive aging. I am intrigued by Dr. Bennett's recent research on the relationship between recognition memory dysfunction and hippocampal volume as it relates closely to my work with Dr. Voss's lab. I was drawn to the health and well-being subtrack that combines my interest in health and neurological diseases with psychology. The program offers the opportunity to collaborate with scientists and students of the highest caliber while developing skills as a mentor. I am confident in my ability as an independent scientist and believe challenges I overcame as a woman in science illustrate my drive. I plan to become a professor where I will investigate cognitive aging and neuroimaging in healthy and cognitively impaired populations. Working in academia would combine my passion for the scientific process with mentorship and create an environment where students are able to realize their potential. In the concluding sentence, the student writes what they want to do as a career and more explicitly, but they also state why this program at UC Riverside is the right fit for them. So what they mentioned is a faculty mentor that they want to be mentored by, and they explain how that mentor's expertise fits with their research interests. So she makes the connection between her past experiences with research in cognitive and neuroscience and psychology, as well as, being on this health and well-being subtrack, as well as their work with Dr. Voss's lab. So she's making all these connections to explain why Dr. Ileana Bennett is the perfect fit to serve as her mentor if she gets accepted into this PhD in psychology program at UC Riverside. So it's important for you to mention a couple of faculty, 2 to 3, of whose research interest and expertise matches yours, but don't just mention their name. I want you to mention their work and how their work is going to help you develop your own research agenda. Make sure that you explain it thoroughly and you provide examples of how they are going to help expand your research. At the end of this paragraph, the applicant also mentions their career goal. They want to become a professor, but they don't stop at just saying, I want to become a professor just to conduct research. They mention exactly what type of research they want to focus on, which is going to be their research agenda. So it gives the committee an idea of what they're going to continue to develop as a graduate PhD student. And so this applicant mentioned they want to investigate cognitive aging and neuroimaging in healthy and cognitive impaired populations. So they are very specific with who they want to work with as participants in their research in what subfield of psychology. So I want you to be that specific when you're explaining your research agenda. Finally, they also mentioned that they want to become a mentor because their experience as a woman in science has led them to want to mentor other people who identify similar to them, and that puts a very strong note to the statement of purpose, because in the world of academia where we're pushing towards equity and equality of minoritized and other underrepresented populations, and she's playing to that need in academia. I hope the review of the statement of purpose is really helpful for your development of your statement of purpose. As a reminder, I do offer a statement of purpose review service which is It's linked down below in the description. So if you want individualized support from me, I do offer a service for a fee, and I will be able to give you constructive feedback to improve your statement of purpose and make it more competitive.